let's look at some of the big games this weekend in the company of Stan Collymore. Hi, Stan.
Hey, Andy. Hey, Paul. You're miles off. You're both miles off, because any real football fan will be salivating over the Chinese Super League, which currently in the 94th minute is Zhenjiang Professional 3, Shanghai Shenhua 4.
Wow.
It's a classic.
That sounds...
an absolute classic. Disappointed in you, Andy.
Yeah. It's Martin Tyler commentating on that when the fourth goal goes in, like old time, Stan. Yeah. So where do you want to start? Where would you like to look at?
Yeah, I mean, Brighton, Ipswich, go through the games. I mean, congratulations to Fabian Hürzeler, manager of the month in his first month, really, in the Premier League. Only 31 years of age, which sort of ages us all, against Ipswich. And I think that the overall thing for me, I'm being interested in to see how Ipswich do this season, is will they throw in some pragmatism alongside the high press? There's loads of social media memes last week with Ipswich fans saying we outplayed Liverpool in the first half, and Liverpool fans basically put out a little meme saying we beat Liverpool in the first half of a Premier League game at home, sort of bus parade.
Yeah.
And I think that what Ipswich have got to do if they're going to stay in the division, and I think that out of the promoted sides, I think that they've got the best chance, is that they've got to have some pragmatism alongside undoubtedly a very committed team. So that's going to be very difficult at somewhere like Brighton. I think 60 minutes in, teams like that wear you down with their possession. And I've gone for this one, Brighton 2, Ipswich 0. But it'll be very, very interesting just to see whether Kieran McKenna has an evolution in season, or whether he does like a lot of managers do and says, we're going to play this way regardless.
I mean, we were making the point, myself and Andy, Muric is an interesting bit of recruitment after what went on last year, playing out from the back, because that's the way he likes to play. Obviously, still has belief that he can do that, but he certainly struggled with it last season, didn't he?
Yeah, and with players like Calvin Phillips coming in, what kind of impact will he have? Because, of course, he breaks down play, but he's also got a really good long pass. So will they soak up a little bit more pressure, low block, as the kids call it these days, and look to hit a little bit more on the counter-attack? But the Brighton game is going to be a very good test, because you think, well, OK, let's go out, high octane, press them high, press them often. But Brighton are so good at keeping the ball, playing the ball through the lines, that eventually that high press it just gets worn down. And then you have quality players like the Mitomas, Welbecks, that pick you off the other end. So I think this is a really fascinating watch this weekend. If you're watching it and lucky enough to be there down at Brighton and you're an Ipswich fan, tell us how you get on, because it'd be interesting just to see whether they approach the game differently.
Yeah. Up next, Dan?
Yeah, the first Collymore derby of the weekend, Crystal Palace against Leicester. Yeah, there's two. Palace against Leicester, and of course Liverpool against Forest, which is the more...
it's more recognisable derby, I'd say.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Made me league debut for Palace, and towards the end of my career, I had a great time at Leicester. Best dressing room I ever played in. Palace have won 9 against Leicester in the Premier League. That's the best record that they've got against any team. Now, when you're looking down at the bottom of the table... You two support teams, and I latterly support teams where we would expect to be in the higher end. But if you're a Forest fan, a Palace fan, a Leicester fan, Southampton, Ipswich, you're looking at what you've got up top to be able to create chances and score enough goals to keep you in the league. And I think that the bit of business that particularly Crystal Palace have done with bringing Nketiah in, alongside the likes of Eze and Mateta, they have to be... I mean, Forest, I'll come to Forest when we get there, but Nketiah, Eze and Mateta should not only just be fun to watch, but surely they've got enough goals in Crystal Palace to be looking at the nicking into the top end of the table on a fairly regular basis, rather than what they did last season, which was have a good end to the season. But the expectation perhaps this season has got a little bit the better of them, and they've been a little bit hit and miss. So I'm fascinated to see how Crystal Palace end up playing. Leicester, I think they're going to struggle. I just think that they've got a real hodgepodge of players, and I think that this should be a 3 points for Palace. Palace 2, Leicester 1.
Yeah, they should win. I mean, the last time out, obviously I saw them live against Chelsea, and 4-1 would have been a better reflection of the game. They got a draw in the end, and once they scored, they were probably on top. They might have even nicked it, but Chelsea should have been out of sight, really. But
where should we go next, Dan?
Yeah, I'm thinking the Bobby Moore derby, Fulham against West Ham. I can't help but think of Bobby Moore when I think of Fulham and West Ham for some reason. The great Bobby Moore, of course, West Ham legend, and had time at Fulham later on in his career. But this one was a 7-0 aggregate over the two games that they played in Fulham's favour. Fulham have only won 3 of the last 12 Premier League games, so you have to bear that in mind. And also, West Ham's kind of hit and miss. They've 2 difficult games against Villa and City at home, which they lost and beat Palace. But I'm going for a straight 1-1 draw in this one. But I think that, I don't know what you guys think, but in terms of when you're looking at England or the rebirth of players having taken a little bit of a step down to come back up, you think Ross Barkley at Luton last season, Emil Smith-Rowe for Fulham and Aaron Wan-Bissaka for West Ham United. So if you're watching them this season, if you're watching them this weekend, it'd be interesting to see how they do. Smith-Rowe started well, glowing reports of Wan-Bissaka. It's nice to see players that don't quite do it at a club or are surplus to requirements going elsewhere, taking the decision to go elsewhere and say, my career might be on fire here. So for Emil Smith-Rowe and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I hope they have a great season. The signs are good very early on.
You've got to get your take on the North London derby.
Yeah, so what about that one, Stam?
Yeah, I can't see beyond Arsenal. I mean, I know that I've just seen on the wires that Mikel Arteta has not made a judgment yet on Odegaard. I doubt that he'd make it.
Chinny record.
But they've won the last 2 derbies, Paul, obviously, at your lot. Couple of stats. Most pens awarded in Premier League history, 26 between the two, 24 scored. Only one of Spurs' last 49 home games have been drawn, which would suggest, along with the way that both play, that they'll have a really good go at each other. And Arsenal have won 9 of the last 10 away Premier League games. I just think even at this stage of the season, the way that Manchester City have started, creating chances, scoring goals, Haaland on 7 goals already, that every game for Arsenal is going to be a must not lose. They found a way at Villa. And I think that they will find a way at Tottenham. That's not to say that I don't think Spurs will create lots of chances. And I've gone for a 2-1 to Arsenal, but I think that Arsenal, the mentality is they've got to win every game.
Yeah, it's where the Tottenham put those chances away they create. This has been the issue.
And City do put pressure on. I mean, they don't normally start as well as this.
No,
so, you know,
that's slightly daunting,
really awesome,
isn't it? Yeah, they normally take a while to ease into the season.
A fixture they have struggled with, but I bet they don't tomorrow. But we'll come to that later.
Yeah, let's have a look at the other Stan Collymore derby, Liverpool Forest.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned about Crystal Palace having forwards. You know, Brentford, of course, have got really good forwards with the likes of Vissa and Buemo. Tony, of course, has gone. But it is nice to see from a Premier League perspective, if we're selling it as the best league in the world, teams near the foot of the table or in the bottom of the table, you have to look at and say they've got match winners. And I think that Forest are running out of excuses. Look, they're unbeaten in 4 in the Premier League. Chris Wood, the Kiwi up top, has scored 4 in his last 5, which is exceptional. But if you look at their front 4, Elanga, wanted by bigger clubs, Morgan Gibbs-White makes his England debut, Hudson-Odoi, another player like Smith-Rowe that has taken a step to go from an inverted commas big club and he's doing well at Forest, and Wood, a really well-balanced front 4. They won't be judged on the game at Anfield, which I think that Liverpool will win comfortably. They're unbeaten in the last 25 against Forest. It's always a tricky place for Forest to go. And of course, Liverpool have started the season extremely well, won their last 3, comfortably beat Manchester United. So I think it'll be 3-0 to Liverpool on the day. But beyond this, when Forest are playing other teams, pretty much I'd say from 8th down, there's no reason this season why Nottingham Forest can't be competitive.
Let's squeeze in one more, Stan. Which one takes your fancy?
Nicholas Jackson, discuss. What on earth's going on? I've got a chance of getting a contract at Chelsea at this rate. If they're giving out contracts to 2033.
It's all to do with spreading the wages. I mean, that is.
I know it is, but it is ridiculous. But in terms of on the pitch, I think this could be the game of the weekend. Bournemouth haven't had a win in the last 5 against Chelsea. Chelsea have lost 1 in the last 7 at Bournemouth. They're both creating chances. They're both scoring goals. Lots of suggestions that Bournemouth may tank after Solanke's gone. That's not the case. They've started okay. and Chelsea have won the last 3 away in the Premier League. Of course, Bournemouth snatched victory out the jaws of defeat last week, 10 days ago against Everton.
They did.
I think this one's going to be Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 3, and an absolute feast of football.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons, 1 till 4. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.